Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Thursday morning's Srimad Bhagavatam study. I'm here at the farm with Live. We got Eva, the Polish princess, and Tom Essig, my old school buddy. Mara just decided to stay home today. That's all right, Mara. It's okay, Mara. You have your own life. We've been doing our sweet baby Krishnas at Gopal's house. Gopal Chandra's moms, Jana and Martin, they've been taking care of us. Then they break bread, and all my kids came yesterday. It's been quite nice. And we're absorbed in this incredible stories of Krishna. Krishna is about to descend to the material world for our benefit. It's quite exciting.
All right.
Anyway, if you want to join us tonight, 7 p.m. tonight, Sweet Baby Krishna for Patreon members. And if you're not a Patreon member, patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. It's community supported podcast. Do what you can. Srimad Bhagavatam every day. I'm really good with taglines. What was that other one I had yesterday that Matt Godin quoted? Krishna consciousness.
You can't beat it.
You can't beat it. Krishna, you can't beat it. How about Bhakti? It's good for you. Every day. Okay, let's get on with the show, guys. What's up? Any news? It's episodes.
Episode 700.
Woo! Unbelievable. Episode 700. But in our flurry, in our fury, we have nothing prepared for episode 700 except the same thing, which is quite wonderful. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
You can do the same thing every day. It's quite wonderful. That's the beauty of Bhakti. The adventures in the living. Bhakti. The adventures in the living.
Okay. Well, when we get to 1,000, we'll have to do something special.
Yeah. Oh, no. I say 750. 750.
Okay, 750. We could do that too.
And guess who I got a text message back from yesterday?
Harley
Flanagan.
All right.
Gave me a 2 thumbs up. And he promised, and then finally he's like, "I'd be honored to do it, brother." And then
he's interview for Sunday.
Well, we're not sure about Sunday, but we're hoping this Sunday. He's got to check about this Sunday. He's going to let me know today. But he said I'd be honored to do it, and then he wrote in his next text message, "And I promise to behave."
He understood your mind.
He understood immediately. I was like, "It's going to be very cool and controlled."
It's not your typical podcast.
Yes, we're not going to be drilling you. We're looking for, stir up some issues to talk about your inspiration.
Well, he has such he's one of these guys that just has this like ridiculously fascinating life, right? From birth.
From birth.
Right? Yeah.
I think he met Prabhupada in the womb. His mother met Prabhupada while she was pregnant.
No, as an infant, he met Prabhupada. But maybe in the womb.
Two times. Two times. One in the womb and one as an infant. We'll get all the stories from him.
First, we want the womb story.
What was Prabhupada like when you were in the womb? What did he say?
Yeah, so that'll be a very, very fascinating interview, I think.
Yeah, it might have to be PG-13 though. So someone's got to censor Karuna. Get Karuna's mom on here and see if she can watch it with him.
Okay. Well, what we do is we introduce him to Karuna beforehand, so then he knows it's like we got kids here, you know.
We got kids here. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Meet Karuna. Let's keep it on that. It's like when I was Karuna's age, I was playing. It's true. When he was
It's
Karuna's
practically
age.
true. When he was Karuna's age, and Karuna's 8 years old, he released a book of poetry that Allen Ginsberg wrote the introduction to. How about
Yeah.
that?
Oh, Krishna. Alrighty. Oh wow, it's Aaron Erskine's and Srinivas's birthday today.
Wow.
Regular
Happy
Zoomer
birthday,
others,
everyone.
Zothers, and welcome. Yes, happy birthday, guys. So in Bhakti we don't receive gifts, we give on our birthday. So anyway, Kostuba is going to leave his PayPal account in the chat board. Whatever. Just kidding. Happy birthday. We love you guys. Thank you for being part of we have a beautiful community. Our future really depends. I was thinking about this. Our future depends on our community, our future, and the feeling in our heart, in our mind. I wrote these things down. I was like, this is smart. I should write this down. Well, a major thing that's going to affect our life is how we feel about our future. That's one thing. A major thing that affects our life is how I feel about the future. They always say that if you're into
You mean like what affects your present?
have a
is how we-
reason to live, right?
Yeah.
A reason to live.
Hold it. But before we go forward, I just want to make sure I understand what we're talking about here. You said, say it again, something about our life in the future.
One of the major things that's going to affect our life is how we feel about our future.
So when you say our life, you mean like our present experience, our present awareness? When you say life,
our present,
Okay.
our day-to-day life.
How we feel about the future affects how what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah. What are the
Okay.
promises our life is giving us? Our lifestyle. Do I feel hopeless in my life?
Okay.
Okay.
And a lot of that has to do with the community.
Well, and that's another thing. And how we feel about our community is going to affect our present. I was trying to think of things that are affecting us. Another thing that's going to affect our life is how we feel about our past.
All right.
That's interesting.
You are
These
really
weren't even
getting
planned to be
deep.
nuggets. I'm just
Past, future, community. This is great, Raghunath.
because there was like,
Raghunath's
where are you going?
nobody's
with
ever thought of this before.
it? Well, I just think like within Bhakti, there is a great promise. And in that
Right,
promise,
right.
we have there's great joy and there's great hope. People need hope. People have no hope nowadays.
It's true.
Like, where are we going? I don't want to have kids. I don't want to bring my kids into this world. There's great hope.
Okay, I get
There's
what you're
good.
saying. I
Get
do
that?
feel that a lot. You get that a lot from people nowadays because they're just like, oh my God, pandemics and war and where's it all going? Horrible.
There's always
leaders.
been pandemics and there's always been wars.
Hmm.
But there's hope in Bhakti.
Right.
There's hope in Bhakti.
Okay.
And of course, how we feel about the past really affects our future as well. It's a big part of Bhakti as well. We sort of end our resentment and anger and bitterness and forgive the past. We forgive ourselves and we move forward.
All right. Do
And
we need
you,
to
my
check?
friend,
Yeah.
you, my friend, the people around us
Oh,
affect
Yeah.
our present as well.
I agree with that, Raghunath.
Okay. All right. That wasn't meant to be the nugget. There is a nugget.
Okay. Do we have announcements before the nugget? Though? I see
There's a
Mira
Bhakti
perking up.
recovery group meeting today at noon.
Okay.
Sweet Baby Krishna tonight at 7 p.m.
7 tonight.
Yeah.
It's 7
Back to
Go
7.
back and forth. Okay.
Yeah. All right. This is called the Nugget 700. Ready?
7, yeah, nugget 700. All right.
In a mother's womb were two babies. One asked the other, "Do you believe in life after delivery?"
Oh, that's delivery.
Interesting. That's a good one.
You
This is
like
Nugget
this?
700.
Okay.
This is a good one. This is a very good one.
I'm glad you like
Believe in life after delivery? The other baby said, "Why, of course. There has to be something after delivery,
Has to be something
maybe-
after 3.
right? Maybe we're here to prepare ourselves for what will be later."
Hmm.
Nonsense, says the other. There is no life after delivery. That would be, what would that life be? I don't know, but there will be more light than here. Maybe we will walk with our legs and eat from our mouths. The other says, "This is absurd. Walking is impossible. And eat with our mouths? Ridiculous." The umbilical cord supplies nutrition. The very idea of life after delivery is to be rejected. The umbilical cord is too short.
Interesting, right?
Eh,
Interesting.
it's beyond that little baby's brain.
Right.
I think there is something, and maybe it's different than it is here. The other replies, no one has ever come back from there. Delivery is the end of life, and the life after delivery, it is nothing but darkness. Well, I don't know, says the other, but certainly we will see Mother, and she will take care of us. Mother? You believe in Mother? Where is she now? She's all, oh, this is good. This is Nugget 700.
Okay. Do you believe in Mother?
She's all around us. It is in her that we live. Without her, there would not be this world. I don't see her. So it's only logical that she doesn't exist. Use your brain. Follow the science, baby number one. To which the other replied, sometimes when you're in silence, you can hear her. You can perceive her in silence. I believe there is a reality after delivery, and we are here to prepare ourselves for that reality. That was Nugget 700, and maybe our best nugget ever, I think. What do you think?
You like that nugget?
Why
do you like it so much? Let's hear your thoughts on it.
I mean, first of all, the idea of God is everywhere. The mother is everywhere. The mother is, everything is the mother. That is so right on. No, I don't see her. You can't even see her. You're within her. You're embraced by her. You're nourished by her.
She's everywhere. Like
she's everything.
Yeah.
Come on.
She's feeding you. She's supporting you. Your body is made out of her energy. She's doing everything for you. Like she doesn't exist. It's interesting.
She doesn't exist. It's such a blind. You're just turning a blind eye. Come on, Mara. Give me some reaction. Why do you sit there just so?
Sorry, Prabhu.
Come on. Don't you find this completely like enlivening, Nugget 700?
It's a great nugget. Very good.
It's a great nugget. It's just a way of, I mean, in one sense it's simple, but in another sense it's very profound, right? In other words, it's showing that the mentality, it's framing two different mentalities, right? One is an empiricist mentality, which people tend to give a lot of weight to, but it shows really just how limited that mentality can be, right? And how absurd it can be. And so really this is the, you can obviously, what's being done here is you could just replace this conversation and label, empiricist on one side and I don't know what you'd call it, and like, a person of faith or something, on the other. And but and there's a clue, and maybe the most profound part of it was where the first baby said, you can perceive her. Sometimes you can hear her when you're in silence.
I know. Right. That was good. That was good. When you're in silence, you can hear her. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. It's just you're not capable of slowing down and actually trying. You're not. In other words, we're not capable of perceiving Mother through our senses right now. That day will come. But there are ways of perceiving the Mother. But you're not even willing to try them, but you just mock them, You
just mock them.
Yeah,
I mean, hey,
so,
Kostuba, did you? Kostuba got this, but you know what? I've read this once, and I was like, "This is going to be a great nugget one day," and then I lost it. Who did this? Who did this? Do you know?
I have no idea. Source? I just dug it up.
The fact checkers want to know on the chat board. Who did this? We want to get to the bottom of this.
I don't even know. Maybe one of the listeners knows.
One of those. Okay. If you find out, let us know. I love that. Mother.
What is that? No. Danzig or something?
Yeah. All right. That was a great way to start 700.
Okay.
Polish Princess, you like that one? Okay, Tom? All right. See, they loved it.
Okay, good. Okay. Nothing like a good nugget.
Yeah. All right. Narayanam namaskritya chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before we say it in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesh vabhadresh shu nityam bhagavat sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Mara, reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4.
Canto 4, Chapter 11, Text 15.
Text 15.
15.
So what's going on, Raghu?
I love the idea of sitting quietly and you can perceive Mother. Mm?
Yeah. What are you doing?
If you couldn't see that, I was putting my finger to the camera on Kostuma's lips. Okay. All right.
So,
the creation.
well, who's speaking now?
Where are we? Rewind it, sir.
We have Dhruva Maharaj, right, who's become this great king. His brother was killed by the Yakshas, these heavenly but tamasic creatures.
Yeah, I don't know if they're heavenly. They're otherworldly for sure.
Well, okay. I mean, I think they're living on higher planets, though, right? So in that sense, heavenly.
I don't know.
You think they're on lower planets?
Mara, research. Where do the Yakshas live?
What planetary system?
Yeah, and if you can beat Mara to the punch, you might have a new job. Just kidding, Mara. You're irreplaceable. You're irreplaceable. Just trying to give you a little pressure.
So Dhruva Maharaj is his brother was killed by the Yakshas. He's fighting them and killing them off. They were throwing all kinds of illusion at him and all kind of illusory crap at him, and he was countering it with mantras and with weapons. And then he disperses their illusion, and now he's just taking them down like it's going too far.
Well,
right?
He went too far.
He went too far.
And then they resorted, like he just slayed them all. Then they resorted to their magical tactics,
Okay,
which
well, either
aliens
way.
tend to do.
Okay.
My research on aliens, they always resort.
I mean, he had kind of sat back at a certain point when they all ran away, but then they came back with the illusion, and then he started really slaying again.
Do you know what was the most science fiction like thing in the entire Krishna book? Guess what I'm going to say?
Shalva's space.
Yes!
Yeah.
Yes! No, but what part of that story?
When Shalva apparently kills Krishna's father.
Yes! Oh my God.
Yeah, that was
Should I just
all
tell that
illusion,
story?
though.
Should
I don't
tell
think
that
now's
story?
the time. I don't think. I guess we want to do it quick.
All right. It's episode 700. Shalva, after being completely wrecked by
Well,
Krishna.
you gotta describe. You gotta give more context because you have to assume someone has no idea who Shalva is. Or
Shalva's
what's
a bad
going
guy.
on.
I'm going to keep it very simple. Shalva's a bad guy in a magical spaceship. The thing blinked on and off. It turned into 1,000 spaceships, went into one spaceship. It was more like a floating city.
Mhm.
After being and then he was attacking Dwarka, and he was throwing all these type of mystical things down on Dwarka, raining snakes and
What is
cobras and
Dwarka?
logs.
What is Dwarka?
Dwarka is Krishna's. You want to get it real simple? Dwarka is the Western Dham, the holy place where Krishna was a prince, and where he lived with his thousands of queens, and he also multiplied himself into thousands of Krishnas. So anyway, he was getting attacked by Dwarka. Dwarka was getting attacked by Shalva, and after Krishna wrecked his spaceship, Shalva appeared out of nowhere with a person. It was an apparition that looked just like Krishna's father. And he had him by the neck or by the hair or something. You see this, Krishna? This is your very source. Your very source. Yeah. What did he say? He called his father something like, this is who you were born of, the seed you were born of. And this is what I think of him and you. And he cuts off his head and throws his head on the ground. And Krishna was like stunned for a moment witnessing this. And that gave him time to get away.
But it was all Leela.
But it was all Leela.
It's all Krishna's adventure.
Yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't the real Vasudeva, but it was
Yeah.
it was very, very like Star Trek-ish or science fiction.
Yeah. Again, our play on this is that all of this stuff is just a reflection of what you find in Krishna's Leela, right?
Yes.
Whether it's Star
yes.
Trek or something like that. Okay, so it appears that these yakshas they live in the lower planetary systems, but subterranean. Right?
Well, I
Sometimes
also we
the
also
Mara's,
found I found something else that said they live in the upper regions of the
Mara
Himalayas.
desperately trying to hold on to her job, it countered it with some other reference.
Well, one of the sources of your sources.
Well, Cindy used Wikipedia.
Okay,
It's a
that
little
tends to
dodgy
be,
there.
that
Little
tends to
dodgy.
be- I don't know. I think Wikipedia
Right,
is a
it tends to
source.
be always correct. And Mara, what did you use, Mara?
Well, mine was a little vague. It was from
Uh-oh.
Google, but it said according to most sources or something like that.
Okay.
Your sources.
In any
Cindy's
case, they
may be
live.
more reliable.
But sometimes those subterranean regions are also called the subterranean heavenly planets, right? So what did I
Yeah.
say? Did I say heavenly?
Yeah,
that's
subterranean
what I said.
subterranean heavenly planets.
So whatever they are, they're living in another dimension, in a sense, and another universal realm. But in any case, Dhruva was fighting them. Through anger, he went too far. He was killing too much, right? He crossed the line, and so Manu, who's his grandfather and this kind of universal leader, comes forward with the sages for an intervention.
Mm.
And they begin to tell him, "Hey, slow it down. Don't let anger control you, right? Don't become controlled by your anger." And then we heard some verses. There was I think there was a theme in the previous 3 verses about focus on satisfying Bhagavan. And you can do that through how you relate to other people, right? And we heard about those 4 different ways to relate to other people. Remember that yesterday?
Yep. I can't
some
remember
people,
what they were though. But yes,
there's
I remember.
tolerance. There's the
kind-
friendship.
Yeah.
There's mercy, like that.
Yeah.
So they focus on that, and then you can. I think this is in today's verse. Is it today's verse where they talk about what you achieve through that? Let's see. Oh no, that was text 14. We read 14 yesterday. Is that right?
Yeah, we read
Well,
14.
in any case, let's read it again. It says that one who actually satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead during one's lifetime becomes liberated from the gross and subtle material conditions. Thus, being freed from all material modes of nature, they achieve unlimited spiritual bliss, which is called Brahma Nirvanam Richiti. To achieve Richiti, Brahma Nirvanam. So how you relate to other people is a way of pleasing God, and it leads to unlimited spiritual bliss.
Mm.
Nice, right? Now what the sage, we could imagine, I mean, it's like they just pulled him right off the battlefield in a sense, right? Like he's in a huff right now, right?
Right.
Dhruva.
He's in a rage.
He's in a rage. He's they're taking him straight from that moment of battle, and he's in a rage, and his mind's full of anger. And now what they're going to do, and why, in one sense, the rage was justified. His brother was killed by these people. So there's a lot of rage. Now what the sages are going to do now, and what Manu's going to do, is they're going to ask him to zoom out. Right? That's where we're going in the next verses. In verses 15 through 26, it's going to say that ultimately, and this is interesting, right? Ultimately, behind everything, the God is working, and so you have to see that. You have to try to perceive that. Which, I think even that idea, in other words, Raghunath, if say someone killed your brother, and you were dealing with it, right? And I came and said, well, ultimately God's behind all of this.
Yeah.
Like,
That's when I cut your head off too.
You too. No, in one sense, it may be unwelcome, right?
But it's truthful. Yeah.
But it's truthful, and that's what I think is important here. Is that, particularly in the world that we live in, I think currently more than ever, right? And we talk about this kind of thing a lot, but we live in this world of polarity, and it's kind of like a simplistic world. Nobody's thought seems too nuanced anymore, right?
Right.
It's you jump over to one side or you jump over to the other side. So
right.
I think even this idea that someone, what about justice, right? In other words, you're telling me that ultimately God's behind everything. Well, what about this? What about dealing with justice right here and now, right? And I think that that what's important here is that like a wise person can see one event from two different angles of vision, and there may be truth in both of them, right? Like Dhruva has to respond to this killing. He's the king, he's the protector. It is his duty on that surface, superficial level to respond to it. It's his dharma, it's his duty to do that, right? But from another perspective, one can understand that ultimately everything's happening by God's arrangement for a purpose, and we're meant to learn through it, and so on. And that's not an invalid. We don't, just because the first perspective is valid doesn't mean that this other perspective is necessarily invalid. Or just because one or the other could be misapplied doesn't mean that there's not truth in it and that there's not a proper application for it. So there's a time to deal with a problem. There's a time to mete justice out. But there's also a time to stop down and think about it from a zoomed out perspective. And so Manu didn't step in when Dhruva was initially dealing with it. But at a certain point, he went too far and he said, you need to see from the other perspective. Right? Now you need to zoom out a little bit and think about it in another perspective. So now we're going to hear verses that deal with understanding how God's behind everything. And specifically the next few verses, like 15 through 18, they're saying that God works through inconceivable energies. And ultimately, he's the cause of all creation, all maintenance, and all destruction. Like whatever's created, whatever's maintained, whatever's destroyed, ultimately the original cause. If you follow it back far enough, you'll find God is there. So now try to see from that perspective, because that's an important perspective too. All right.
Okay, text 15, ready? The creation of the material world begins with the 5 elements, and thus everything, including the body of a man or a woman, is created by these elements. By the sexual life of man and woman, the number of men and women in this material world is further increased. Got that?
Mm-hmm.
Manu continued.
Sexual education there. Thank you.
That's how babies are made.
Okay, so why is he saying this, Raghunath?
We're about to find out.
Are we?
I don't know.
Well, why don't we talk about it right now? Let's talk about it. I know you like to rush past this subject when little Tarun brings it up. But again, he's just saying, he's Manu, right? So like this is he's like the big progenitor, right? So in one sense,
I think he's the progenitor, right? Is he a progenitor or lawmaker? He's the lawmaker.
Well, he's like a progenitor of progenitors, right? Like Durvasa is his son, and so on. Or not Durvasa. Who am I thinking of? Why can't I think of it now? The one who curses Narada, the one who got so upset with Shiva that we just read about. Who was it that cursed? Huh?
Daksha.
Daksha. Thank you, Mara.
Daksha, sorry.
Look at Mara. She's earning her stripes today.
It's Natandande on the chat board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pass on the credit.
Yeah, so like, Prajapati Daksha, Manu is his father, correct? Or was it Manu's daughter? Didn't Manu marry his daughter? And in any case, he's a progenitor. He has sons that go on to to create progeny. So he's saying, ultimately, that body of your brother was created by God. Ultimately, that body of your brother is destroyed by God too. It's created, maintained, and destroyed. So anyway, there's he's alluding to that idea.
Onward?
Yeah.
All right, text 16. Manu continued, my dear King Dhruva, it is simply by the illusory material energy of the personality of Godhead and by the interaction of the 3 gunas that creation, maintenance, and annihilation take place.
Mm-hmm.
Text 17. My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. He is the remote cause of the creation of this material cosmic manifestation. When he gives the impetus, many other causes and effects are produced, and thus the whole universe moves, just as iron moves by the integrated force of a magnet.
Interesting. Prabhupada writes, let's read this first paragraph of this commentary.
17?
Yeah.
You got it pulled up? You want to read it?
Okay. So let's read the verse again.
Okay, my dear Dhruva, the personality of Godhead is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature, the gunas.
Mhm.
He is the remote cause of the creation of this material cosmic manifestation.
The remote cause.
The remote cause.
So
What does
like
that
there's a
mean?
cause, like in other words, like remote means like somewhat removed, right?
Hmm.
And so
He's behind it all.
he's behind it. So like why is this relevant? Like for instance, that yaksha killed your brother, right? Like that's the direct cause. But beyond it, there's a remote cause too, right? Like all of the cycles that are going on, ultimately God's behind. So it says he's the remote cause of the creation of this material cosmic manifestation. And then
And when he gives the impetus, many other causes and effects are produced.
Mhm.
And thus the whole universe moves, just as iron moves by the integrated force of a magnet.
Okay. So again, it's not that they're saying, Dhruva, you shouldn't have dealt with the yakshas, right? Like they were the direct cause of the death of your brother, and as the law, the lawman in a sense, right? Like as the person has the duty to uphold law, it was right for you to deal with that direct cause. But now your anger is taking you beyond your dharma, and it's necessary for you to step back and not slow down and begin to see things from that more zoomed out level. And let's look at the remote cause, because even if some injustice was enacted, still, we should be able to slow down and see what is God trying to tell me through this, right? Like, what am I meant to learn? How am I meant to grow? So in the commentary, Prabhupada writes, how the external energy, and so that means the movements of the material world, how the external energy of the Supreme Personality Godhead works within this material world is explained in this verse. Everything is happening by the energy of the Supreme Lord. This is going right into our two babies in the womb.
Nugget 700.
Nugget 700.
Nugget 700.
Everything is happening by the energy of the Supreme Lord. The atheistic philosophers, that's baby number 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who do not agree to accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the original cause of creation, think that the material world moves by the action and reaction of different material elements. A simple example of the interaction of elements occurs when we mix soda and acid, and the movement of effervescence is produced. Prabhupada was like a chemist, right?
Yeah.
So,
Give us a little like baking soda.
yeah, a little baking soda kind of thing. But one cannot produce, and I guess maybe he's using that example because, like, when you see that effervescence, you see like thousands of little bubbles just kind of like produce, which is kind of like thousands of universes are produced from Mahavishnu. Maybe that's
Maybe you're looking deeper into it, but maybe yes. But maybe
Am I
yes.
going too far.
No, you're not.
I think that's maybe why he's saying that, right? And so, okay, so but one cannot produce life by such interaction of chemicals. Now, this is a really significant point, right? There are 8,400,000 different species of life with different wishes and different actions.
Interesting.
Yeah. How the material force is working cannot be explained just on the basis of chemical reaction. Like, for instance, even like with, saying the mixing of the soda and the acid creates this effervescence, but there's a person that's mixing them.
Right.
And so similarly, when we look at the interactions of this world, there's material elements that are moving and shifting, and we can study that and we can learn a lot from that. But we should also understand that there's an element there that's not perceivable through the microscope, right? But that's real, and that's called spirit or spiritual energy of the soul. Okay, so a suitable example in this connection is that of the potter and the potter's wheel.
Mm-hmm.
The potter's wheel rotates, and several varieties of earthen pots come out. So like you can roll, you make that wheel go around. Now you can throw a lump of clay on there. You can make a pot that's shaped like this. You can make a pot that's shaped like that. So many different varieties of pots may come, but someone made that wheel move, right? So he says, so there are many causes for the earthen pots, but the original cause is the potter who sets a force on the wheel. That force comes by his superintendence. The same idea is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Behind all material action and reaction, there is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna says that everything depends on his energy, and yet he is not everywhere. The pot is produced under certain conditions of action and reaction of material energy, but the potter is not in the pot. In a similar way, the material creation is set up by the Lord, but he remains aloof. As stated in the Vedas, he simply glanced over it, and the agitation of matter immediately began. So something's being asked of Dhruva right here, and in a sense, because it's being asked of him, and we're being asked to read it, it's being asked of us, right? It's saying, that we can deal with our issues and our responsibilities in life, but the deeper thinker, the wiser person, understands that there's another reality too, and in one sense, it's even more real, although to many it would seem totally unreal, right? Like
baby number two.
Like baby number two. Baby number two, like, come on, get out of here with all that stuff. I can't see it. I can't touch it. Why even think about it?
Yaksha did it. I want revenge. There's, I don't even want a trial. I just want revenge, and I want a mob rule, and I want to act like this. And the Bhagavatam again is pushing us towards this big zoom out for our own benefit.
Yeah, and but even if Dhruva didn't go too far, this is still valuable to think about, right? In other words, for instance, a lot of times you Raghunath, you use the example of, like, say, parenthood, which is like, such a unique and tricky,
Joyful.
Well, yeah, but it's mixed, right? It's full of joy. It's full of a unique joy, right? That you had to experience to really know, but it's also brings with it frustration and fear and
riddled with pain and anxiety.
Riddled with pain and anxiety and all that, right? And so on the one hand, it's important that a parent be responsible and loving and kind, to the child, and there's a reality to that, and there's within that responsibility, there's a feeling, you could say like a bhava, right? That I am your parent. And therefore, it's, that feeling, I am your parent, that quote unquote reality, right, comes with the Dharma and comes with emotion, again, emotion of fear and emotion of joy, whatever it may be, that responsibility, and it's important to carry it out, right? It's like you're noble and virtuous when you carry it out well. But at the same time, there's a deeper reality, and that you are not my child, right? Like, I am not your parent, right? Both are true, right? But on one level, it's totally true that, you're the parent of that child, and it's your responsibility to care for them, and it was your action that brought them, that formed their body, and therefore you became responsible, and to neglect that responsibility is wrong. And then so there's truth in that, and then there's broader versions of truth than the truth that's like right in front of our face. And I think that again, like, our tendency in this day and age is to reject one or the other with enthusiasm,
with great enthusiasm and hate.
Hey,
we want justice right now, but we haven't even heard the whole story yet. We want justice now. Yeah, and even even within like the realm of bhakti yogis, I see, because I think since the pandemic and Trump and the whole past decade, I see like bhakti yogis get on both sides of issues and just just really argue about, like, truthfully, they ruin their spiritual life in those arguments. It's certainly they stunt. They're all tricks by Maya. They ruin their spiritual life to make some mundane point. Yeah, like one person is saying you need to interpret bhakti this way, and it must be applied in in a socially relevant way. Otherwise, you are completely lost, and I hate you. And another person is like, "You fool! Don't you understand that everything? Just pick up the book and read it, idiot. It doesn't tell you that this whole thing is temporary and it's moving, and according to karma, and that there's destiny and fate, and ultimately it's all an illusion. What's the matter with you, you idiot? And they're going back and forth. No, and in the name of establishing themselves, they've made offenses, and
there's
they've
always-
defeated the
yeah.
very point of bhakti in the first place.
That's an interesting point, right? Is that like what's really is it, are you both just concerned with truth, or is there an element of ego, like that's playing out in this? And
I
that's
will say
preventing it?
we've been very, very careful to ride that line right in the middle, where we're not going,
in one sense, yes.
where we're not going to waver either side and keep the main thing in
Yeah.
bhakti. It's hard to do.
It's challenging in this day and age for sure. I'm sometimes I wonder, is the rest of not that this dynamic hasn't always existed and won't always exist in the material realm, but it does feel like it's been super intensified,
Well,
And-
we will have different opinions for sure, but will
Yeah.
those opinions lead us to hate another person?
Yeah, and say again, like even within the realm of politics, like a lot of people are saying, there used to be a time not so long ago where like Democrats and Republicans, like they
You could be married
actually would
and be a
agree on a lot, and
Right.
yeah, and they could actually, like govern together and like compromise with each other to try to come up with some legislation that helps people rather than just being in a big stalemate.
It's just like
the-
hate.
Yeah,
It's just
yes,
tenfold
and so
hate.
yeah, so is it like, are things ever going to be like a less, will the conflict ever like, our state of conflict ever like start to ease in our lifetime? I hope so. I don't know, but I really don't know. But
All
but
right.
certainly, the bhakti yogi should be aware of this, and so we should that mature yogi. They're seen on both these perspectives, right? I can be responsible, together, person in this world, aware of the current surface reality, and dealing with it.
Mm.
And at the same time, I can be otherworldly. And you know what I think? I think that part of the whole system of aging and the way that it was understood in the Vedic culture was that as you're getting older, you can shift. You're kind of shifting more towards that absolute kind of truth and letting go of because you're letting go of your responsibilities in this world. Your parenting is largely done. Your financial responsibility is done as you're getting older. Then you can begin to allow your mind to embrace that more absolute reality more completely, and you become deeper and deeper and deeper.
Mm.
What do you think?
Deep. Yes. Look at me. I'm so deep.
You are.
Okay.
I could tell by the way you responded to Nugget 700.
Nugget 700 was a good nug. That was one of our best ones ever. All right, where are we at? Text
Verse
what?
18.
18. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable supreme energy, time, by his supreme energy, time, causes the interaction of the three gunas, the three modes of material nature,
Mhm.
and thus varieties of energy become manifest. It appears that he is acting, but he is not the actor. He is killing, but he is not the killer. Thus, it is understood that only by his inconceivable power is everything happening.
This is a theme that gets played out in the Bhagavad Gita quite a bit, and of course in Bhagavatam. But that on one hand, Krishna is responsible for everything, and on the other hand, he's not responsible for anything, right?
Taking no responsibility here, although I've done everything.
Yeah, and different analogies are used for that. Like in one sense, the rain is responsible for all the vegetation, right? Nothing grows without the rain. But whether a cantaloupe is growing in your garden or a weed, that's not his responsibility. That has to do with your own, what you've done, what you've planted, the seeds that you've planted.
Okay. All right, Kastub. I like where you're going with this analogy.
You like that? You like that analogy? So
I
in
wanna
one sense,
keep that one.
Krishna's the pot. He's got the pot. He's the one that's moving the pottery wheel, but you're shaping the clay. So who's responsible for ultimately the pottery? Well, in one sense, they're both responsible, but in one sense, Krishna's saying, everything's happening by my energies, but at the same time, you're making decisions, and your decisions are bringing forth reactions, and you have to take responsibility for all that. That's not me. That's you.
All right, text 20.
Text 19.
Text 19. My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ever existing, but in the form of time, he is the killer of everything. He has no beginning, although he is the beginning. What? He has no beginning, although he is the beginning of everything, nor is he ever exhaustible, although everything is exhausted in due course of time. What a riddle. The living entities are created through the agency of the Father and killed through the agency of death, but he is perpetually free from birth and death.
Okay. So yeah, again, it's just a way of, it's a way of saying, you have your feet in this world, but in one sense, you want to get your head in the other world too, So, okay, he's got this, time is his energy, right? And time is something that we discuss a lot. Been a little while since we've spoken about it, but, here time is not being seen as measurement, but here time is being seen as a force, right? It's a force within the material realm. It doesn't operate in the spiritual realm, right? It has no, it just doesn't exist there. It is a program downloaded into the programming of the material world, and it's a force that creates constant change and ultimately destruction. So here Manu is saying that the time, in the form of time, God is killing everything, right? And that he has no beginning, although he's the beginning of everything. Like, he's eternal, but everything within the material world, it's born, it maintains, and it dies, right? And he's beyond that. He's never exhaustible, although everything is exhausted in due course of time, right? So it's just saying, take your head and contemplate what's beyond this, what's making everything here happen. Okay.
It's like the mother in Nugget 700.
Like
Can't understand the mother. She is everything.
She's everything. It's such a great, it really is,
It's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
Nugget 700.
Yeah. Because the more you think about it, it's really like a Bhagavatam kind of thing, right? It's like, in other words, in one sense, everything is the body of the Lord. That's one way of thinking of the universe, right? And in one sense, the body of the baby is the body of the mother too, in one sense, Like, it's all happening within her body. All the ingredients are provided by her body, right? And so similarly, we're in this universe, and everything, our own bodies and everything that we see and touch, is ultimately the energy of God. And you can be living right in the middle of it and be entirely unaware of it, right? But when you actually are seeing truth, you're seeing it everywhere. You're like the mother is everywhere, like God is everywhere.
All right. 2020. The Supreme Personality. What's that?
Just 20.
Just 20. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his feature of eternal time, is present in the material world and is neutral towards everyone. No one is his ally, and no one is his enemy. Within the jurisdiction of the time element, everyone enjoys or suffers the result of his own karma or fruit of activities. As when the wind blows, small particles of dust fly in the air. So, according to one's particular karma, one suffers or enjoys material life.
So much here, so much here. He's saying that your brother died, right? And your brother was killed. Is God responsible for that? Well, he's neutral to everyone. Okay, but so that means that your enemy did it, right? Yeah, but even God's on such another level. He doesn't have friends. He doesn't have enemy. He's kind of like neutral. Everyone, he's giving you the freedom to make your own choices. But then the results of those choices were helpless, So like, and to give that example, it says like when the wind blows, small particles of dust fly in the air. So according to one's particular karma, one suffers or enjoys material life. So on one level, it was wrong for the Yakshas to kill your brother. But on another level, it was just your own brother's reaction to his own previous activities. Consider that as well, right? Consider that as well. Time to bring your mind to that level of reality.
There's a greater plan. There's a greater plan. Text 21, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Vishnu is all powerful, and he awards the results of one's fruitive activities. Thus, although one living entity's duration of life is very small, whereas that of another is very great, he is always transcendental. He is always in his transcendental position, and there is no question of lessening or increasing his duration of life.
Interesting. Right. And so, in other words, he's saying, on one level, yeah, the yaksha killed your brother. On another level, your brother was destined to live a certain amount of time. Right.
Yeah, you couldn't do anything about it.
And he lived it. So think of it from that level too. I think maybe we're done for today, Rogan. Huh? We're running out of time.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Mara, how are you? You get some good notes there?
I got
Take
some
some
good
notes.
takeaways.
Enlighten us.
All right.
Give me something I can use for the rest of the day.
Adventure.
Well, of course,
is
there's Nugget 700.
yeah.
700.
Nugget 700. Adventure is in living bhakti.
Say that?
What?
Adventure is in living bhakti.
Adventures in Living Bhakti. Yeah. Okay.
In stillness, listen to the mother.
Oh, that one's deep.
Oh.
In stillness. There's your T-shirt, Raghunath, right there.
In stillness,
listen to
listen
the
to
mother.
the mother.
I
Yeah.
think you could build a whole, cult around that. And Mara is the divine mother.
She comes in wearing a 9-point crown, and a black cape, a black cape that says Simon's Catering on the back.
And you
With a
just walk
hood
around saying,
perhaps?
"Silence, listen to the mother."
Because Mara never speaks, we never hear anything.
It's because you're not listening.
That's right. Oh, good one.
Ooh.
Silence, Raghunath. Silence.
Our future depends on our community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There is hope in bhakti.
there is. There really
There's
is.
certainly.
People.
Ultimately, God is behind everything.
Yeah.
Bhagavad-
True. Yeah.
Sure.
Bhagavatam pushes us towards the big zoom out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, always. That's every. It's like that's the takeaway from every class, I think.
Yeah, it's important. Will my opinions lead me to hate other people?
I hope not.
But yeah, I hope not.
Krishna is moving the wheel, but you're shaping the clay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sit on the fence and make no offense.
Sit on. Oh, I get it. I get it. Okay. I
Yes,
see it.
but no.
Okay.
Sitting in the fence sounds like we're lame, so we're not gonna.
Right.
And baby number 2 is in denial.
Baby
True.
number 2 is in denial. What about when one of the
Or
major?
baby number
What
two
about
from.
what about my first thing I said? One of the major things that's going to affect.
That's
Our
going to
life.
affect our
It's how we
life is
feel about
how
our
we feel about the
future.
future.
Yeah, come on.
I had that, but it
It
didn't make
wasn't
the
as
cut.
profound as
Can
you
I
thought,
advocate for my
Raghunath.
own nuggets, please? My own takeaways.
make the
Is that
cut.
inappropriate? Oh, thanks everybody for joining us on episode 700 with Nugget 700. Don't be the baby in denial. Understand there's a greater plan out there. We are being embraced by the mother.
Listen to the mother.
Listen to the mother. Tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Sweet baby Krishna. Krishna is going to descend to the material realm for our benefit. Very excited about that. Karuna joined us. Tarun might even join us, perhaps. I can't talk right now. I'm doing it. This is what Dad does.
That's what that does.
It's what Dad does.
This puts food in your mouth, little one.